Nikolay Sergeyevich Bogoyavlenskiy was born on the 22nd of April 1873 in the village of Lamtsino of Bronice County of Moscow Province, to the family of the sexton of the Church of St. Nicholas the Miracle Maker, Sergius Bogoyavlenskiy. Nikolay Sergeyevich followed his father's footsteps, and after studying at a spiritual college and graduating from Moscow Spiritual Seminary on the second class, worked as a teacher at a parish school at the Church of the Life-Giving Trinity in Georgievsky churchyard of Ruza County of Moscow Province. On the 12th of February 1902, by the decree of diocesan authorities, the teacher of Georgievsky Parish School of Ruza County, Nikolay Bogoyavlenskiy, was appointed a priest to the Church of Saints Boris and Gleb in the village of Dyakovo of the same county. Here, the new prior served for the following 9 years, replacing Archpriest Fyodor Smirnov, who had passed away. From June to August 1907, Father Nikolay temporarily served at the Church of the Icon of Our Lady of the Sign of the nearby village of Komleva, where the prior priest Leonid Belayev died. On the 27th of September 1911, priest Nikolay Bogoyavlenskiy was appointed to the Church of the Resurrection of Christ of the village of Vasilievskaya of Serpukhov County of Moscow Province, while in October 1917 he returned to Ruza County and began to serve at the Church of the Icon of Our Lady of the Sign of the village of Komleva. According to the materials of the archive investigation case, before the revolution the clergyman had a house, a cow, a horse, 35 hectares of land that was cultivated by hired workers. Soon after the revolution, Father Nikolay was repressed. In the materials of the investigation case opened by the UGPU in 1932, the member of Church Council of the Church of the Icon of Our Lady of the Sign, Yefim Vassiliev Zelenkov, testified that in 1919 the Pope of the Church of the village of Komleva was arrested, while during the church meeting it was decided to petition about his release. Yefim Vassilievich was elected as a delegate to Comrade Kalinin, while the faithful gathered 1 pound of bread from each house to him. Zelenkov came to the local authorities with a message from the Secretary of Central Executive Committee. However, arriving to the commission, Zelenkov was told by the chairman of the Central Executive Committee, "It is nice, 1 pope was imprisoned here, now you will be put behind bars too." For the petition about the release of the pope, Yefim Vassiliev Zelenkov was imprisoned for 2 weeks. In 1922, priest Nikolay Bogoyavlenskiy moved to the village of Viliaminovo of Serpukhov County of Moscow Province, where he served for the following 8 years at the Church of the Transfiguration of Christ. According to the questionnaire of the arrested, the clergyman had no property. It was sold to pay the fine for breaking the law about hiring workers at a church. According to the words of Father Nikolay, as the Transfiguration Church was closed, on the 30th of December 1929 he left the village of Viliaminovo and on the 15th of January the following year arrived at the village of Sitny Shelkanovo of the same district. But in the materials of the archive investigation case, it was mentioned that on the 6th of February 1930, Archpriest Nikolay Bogoyavlenskiy, along with a group of peasants, was judged by People's Court of Serpukhov District according to Article 133 of the Criminal Code of Russia. The property of the indicted was arrested, while the clergyman was also obliged to pay 70 rubles. Witnesses testified that Archpriest Nikolay came to the village of Sitny Shelkanovo in April 1930 and was appointed to the Church of the Intercession of Virgin Mary. The new prior settled in the church gate house with 72-year-old monk Peter Orlov, who later testified during the interrogation. At once, Bogoyavlenskiy impressed the faithful by religion and divine services. He preached every Sunday, while above all, on the 23rd of June and on the 8th of July 1930, he quoted the book and explained that the Trinity and the Icon of Our Lady of Kazan were. In addition, he preached, "Orthodox brothers, Soviet authorities do not allow us to celebrate church holidays. Do not listen to Bolsheviks, but go to church. This sudden persecution of us will soon end." In the materials of the case, it was also pointed out that a priest came to the village of Veliaminovo at night on the 25th of July 1930 and met local kulaks. On the 18th of August the same year, Archpriest Nikolay Bogoyavlenskiy, who lived in the village of Sitny-Shelkanova, was arrested along with a group of 5 peasants of the village of Veliaminovo, according to the 58th article, paragraph 10 of the Criminal Code of Russia. The same day, the priest was questioned. At the moment of the arrest, the family of widowed Archpriest Nikolay included only 20-year-old son, but the priest said nothing about him. According to the materials of the archive investigation case, Father Nikolay and dispossessed people who were deprived of their rights agitated against kolkhoz and for reopening of the Church of the Transfiguration of Christ in the village of Veliaminovo. Former traders, kulaks, and Pope Bogoyavlenskiy, trying to convince the faithful, decided to organize mass meeting to protest against closure of churches and for liquidation of the kolkhoz in the village of Veliaminovo. In March and April, they gathered illegal meetings to organize faithful people and to protest against the events of the Soviet authorities in the village. On the 18th of April, using the prayer poster of the church, they alerted the faithful from local villages and gathered 100 people near the church. At that time, to distract attention and to hide his guilt, Pope Bogoyavlenskiy illegally moved to another village. The members of the church council encouraged the crowd that they were standing with to shout, "No to the Soviet laws! Give us a church!" In March, at the church, Pope Bogoyavlenskiy preached in the controversial way, "Soviet authorities are Satan. They tempt all people with collective arms. Keep away from devil's temptation." During the interrogation, Archpriest Nikolay Bogoyavlenskiy testified that he had to move to the village of Sitny-Shelkanova because the church in the village of Veliaminovo was closed, and he was not able to earn a living. The church was closed because people abandoned it. Later the priest added, "I do not know how the church was reopened there. That time I was against collective farms, as collective farmers closed churches. When I left the village of Veliaminovo, I said to the faithful, 'Orthodox people, I refuse to serve at your church because Soviet authorities taxed me heavily.'" Witnesses testified. Bogoyavlenskiy in the village of Sitny-Shelkanova settled in the church gatehouse, and there continued his counter-revolutionary activity, gathering religious women, and through Deacon Orlov is spreading different provocative gossips about the Sun War and the fall of the Soviet authorities. Soviet authorities do not allow us to pray, driving people in kolkhoz. Do not allow us to serve public prayers to liquidate frost or drought. Also, the priest was accused of sermons during which he appealed to the faithful to pray in order to deliver them from different evil things. During the interrogation, Father Nikolay did not plead guilty. Despite the lack of evidence, the case was sent to the Troika to review. On the 6th of October 1930, being accused of anti-Soviet agitation and propaganda by the OGPU Troika of Moscow region, 57-year-old Archpriest Nikolay Bogoyavlenskiy was sentenced to 5 years of imprisonment in a concentration camp. The clergyman was exiled to Temnikovsky labor camp on the station of Yavas of Mordovia region. On the 22nd of March 1933, the case of the elderly priest was reviewed, and in April the same year, according to the decree of the OGPU meeting, he was released before the appointed term and exiled to the Northern Territory for the remaining term. Indicted Archpriest Nikolay Bogoyavlenskiy was exiled to Volga Lag. The further fate of the clergyman is still unknown.